Hello everyone and welcome to Fat Man in a Cheap Sim, and this week it was the daily race C from the Nurenberg ring, and this time we were going to drive the 24-hour circuit. And if you've been watching on the live stream, you saw that as I came round the first couple of corners I turned the wrong way, but thankfully by the time we got to the race I realised what I was doing and I managed to actually work out where the corners were, which definitely helped. So here we go on the Nürburgring 24-hour track. It's quite a race indeed, and I started 19th on the grid, so pretty much last. But can I make up some places? Well, the answer is definitely yes, but how many? And this, I can assure you, will be a fantastic and fun race to watch, and quite intense as well. First of all, a big shout out to Espen Lonsted for the wonderful Alpha C livery that he did for me a couple of weeks ago. It definitely looks fantastic on the Alfa Romeo 4C. Now already people are crashing off, and I'm up to 18th place with the first overtake of the night. Here we go through into this tricky chicane. Oh, lost a place again, but I'll get it back into 18th. And as we head down to the hairpin, we're challenging the Toyota. Can we get 17th place? It's almost 3 abreast, coming round and about. Managed to keep on the inside and headed off up the hill. Now I'd only done literally a lap and I could barely get round without crashing, so this was going to be a real test to see if I could even just stay on the black stuff to make it work. But I did actually enjoy this race. It was a lot of fun. When I was doing the live stream I wasn't able to talk very much because it really required an awful lot of concentration. Now I've already gone up to 16th. So there's been a few people with penalties and folk going wide and slowing down and quitting. But overall, we're not doing too badly. We've made up 3 places and we've barely done the first section of the lap. So how many more places can we get on this race? I have to say the 4C does look good in those colours. Now we're getting closer towards the proper Nürburgring ring track, and there's lots of tricky corners coming up. It's just simply corner after corner. It's narrow. There's not a lot of places to overtake. And this again, you can hear down the hill here, probably looking at maybe 5th gear, and then you've got to watch as you come round because there's some kind of dodgy braking. It's very, very easy just to lose control in a number of places on this circuit and run a little bit deep going round there and being challenged by the chap in 17th, the Aston Martin. But I'm just managing to keep him behind me as we kind of finish the first section here of the Nürburgring, and then down onto the straight where you can power on down the hill, and then it goes up over the blind crest, and then really quite an interesting kind of flat right-hander, and then you come into another right-hander, and it's about how much speed can you carry through the corner here. And if we go through, we've managed to keep our line and not doing too badly. We've actually pulled away a little bit, which is good, and we're getting a little bit closer to the chap in 15th place. So can we pull back even more ground? This is a tricky long left-hander. You've got to watch you don't run too wide, and then coming in again to a tight, there's a long right-hander. You've got to make sure you've got the speed off. Somebody else has gone off there, and I'm up into 15th place. And this is where it gets quite intense, because we're going to try and catch up with the cars in front and keep our position, and hopefully try and get a few more positions as well. Ideally I wanted to try and get a top 10, but I thought that could be quite hard, but we'll give it our best and see what happens. Now we're coming into these tricky left-handers, tricky right-handers. That's going to be a word you're going to hear me say how many times. Oh, and the Aston Martin goes flying off onto the grass and is in real trouble there. So we've got a bit of breathing space behind us. This corner was really tricky, very easy to go too wide there, and then making sure you have enough speed off there. I think I went down into 3rd, and then trying to hold it through. And this is also quite a tricky right-hander. As you come through, it's quite long, and you want to try and run on those curbs a little bit. And then this can be taken pretty much almost flat, I would say, depending on what car you're in. And then it's just constant corners as you go down the hill, and this of course is pushing the car out wide. It's not off camber, but this, you really got to watch this, because oh goodness me, there's the curbs. If you brake too late you're going to be in real trouble. But we've managed to stay in 15th place now. I've got, I think is it a Mazda, I think, or it's a Toyota behind me, and this, he was actually putting a lot of pressure on for quite some time, and eventually he actually, we'll see what happens, but we managed to have a good race with that car as well in the next little while. So, coming down onto the hill. Now you might be asking, why on earth would I choose the Alpha? Because you can see that pretty much nobody else has chosen the Alpha. And that's a good question. Well, partly because I've got a wonderful livery that Espen had done for me, and I thought I'll try this, but also the Alpha does handle well. And I thought there's so many areas with lots of corners. If I can keep through those sections and and do quite well and keep up with the cars in front, then at least that's something. I may lose a little bit of speed on the straight, but if I'm keeping a slipstream, it might not make too much difference. And I have to say, it was pretty good in terms of handling. I probably could have gone a bit faster, to be honest. I hadn't really got a lot of experience of this circuit. And I think there were a lot of areas where I was nowhere near as fast. In the end, I think I'd done like an 8 minute 27. Well, the really good guys are doing like an 8 minute 4 at the top of the tables, and people like Super GT, who are pretty much up there at the top, were doing like 8 minute 10s. So I was a long way behind. But like anything, it just takes a lot of practice, and then hopefully you can learn what you need. There was a big awkward moment there in the Toyota behind me, and we've got a BMW M6 in front. The famous carousel, which is really dodgy, and you've got to make sure you get a good bit of acceleration out there. Now I've actually gone up a couple of places and up into 13th, which is not too bad, but it's very close behind. A couple of cars in front that are not too far away. Can we keep going and catch up and keep the pressure on? And this was really one of the first times I actually completed a lap or got into this area of the track without crashing. So I was really trying to do my best to keep that momentum up and not lose too many places. But as you can see, there's a wee bit of argy-bargy there. They both go through, and I lose a couple of places, but at least I managed to stay on the track. I'm down to 15th again, but not for very long. I will get those positions back, so make sure you keep watching until the very end. So considering I started 19th, I'm up to 14th. I have been as high as 13th. Where can we go from here? There's plenty more racing to go. We've not even completed a lap as we come towards the last part of the first lap, and then we'll head on to the long straight. These are really challenging corners. It's just one after the other, and you've got to try and keep in the slipstream. The car fights you as well. It's just wanting to go in different directions, so you've got to try and be smooth, which I have to say I need to really work on, because Group 3 is not my strong point, but I do enjoy it though. I'm looking forward to the Maggiore race later on tonight, and I'll be doing the live stream. And by this point, of course, the video may already be out, or it might have been out yesterday, so we'll see how it all goes. So coming towards the last section of the last lap, before we get on to the long straight. These are great corners. You can make up a lot of time down here, and as you can see, I'm already up in the thick of it with the cars in front. A lot of people go wide or have very slow exits, and look at the number of penalties in front. It's a penalty fest for sure. And that was the other aim of this race, is not to get a penalty, to manage to keep going without any problems like that. Now, as we go on to the very long straight, I'm in the slipstream, and many of the cars in front indeed have penalties. So can we make up a few places? There is the Toyota that overtook me earlier, but I managed to get past it and make a little bit of space as well, which is not too bad. And I think I've got a Corvette. No, it's a Porsche 911 in front of me. And as we come up that wonderful long straight, there's a kind of left hand kink as you come through, but as long as you use all the road, you can keep flat out right the way through. And then of course you're coming up the hill. This is where you've got to try and get your braking point, because it's very easy to brake too late, and then you're in real trouble when you go into the barriers. But I managed to stay on a fairly reasonable line, and here we are to complete lap 1 of 2, the Alfa Romeo, and I'm up to 12th place. So not too bad at all for the first lap here at the Nurenberg. One more lap to go. This was a race with, you could if you wanted pit, but it really wasn't worth it, because on the hard tyre, as long as you were relatively smooth, you should be able to keep the tyres in good enough condition to get you through the entire race. That was, I actually quite liked that chicane. I much prefer it to the standard layout of the track. And I'm up, I've actually done a pretty good section there, a purple time, which is not bad. And into the right hander, the Toyota is desperate to try and get past, but we're going to do our best to keep him behind us and try and make a bit of space as well. And we've got the 911 in front of us as we come to the big hairpin, crucially trying to brake just as you get to those curbs on the left hand side, try and keep it on the inside and right the way out, and then over riding the curbs on the right hand side to then swoop left to try and get a good line through there and take a bit of curb on the right, hopefully avoiding the kitty litter, which I didn't do. And you see how much momentum I've lost there, and the Toyota challenges and goes past. But I'm going to try and stick with them. This is going to be another good intense section as we head behind the Toyota and the Porsche, because there's going to be lots of action. And I've done another purple sector there, which is not too bad. The Alpha wasn't actually that bad, you know, it was quite predictable, which is what you want. This is a tricky, the chicane, it's a much nicer chicane than the sharp one. And as you can see, I didn't lose too much time going around there, so probably with a bit more practice I could have perfected it and maybe, you know, gone through a bit faster. But as we come into the very, very intense section of, there's so many corners, it says left, right, the whole way for what seems like about a minute. And you come through, that's where, look at all the years worth of graffiti that has been written there by people who have driven around the Nurenberg ring and had near misses and accidents and all sorts. There's lots of words that have been written for drivers who are no longer with us. It's quite an incredible circuit. And then we go down, we're exiting the first section now, and I'm just about managing to keep up with the Toyota. It's got a little bit of a gap, but I'm sure we are going to get that back. Just, it will just take a little bit of time. And as we head on up the hill, over the crest, how much speed can you hold on to the right-hander? And then it's flat out all the way through these wonderful long kind of slight left bends, and we can see there's a penalty already. Now that's Beetle with a penalty, I think, or something's happened there. Oh no, it's the Toyota that's got a penalty, so he must have ran wide or cut a corner or had some kind of issue, because he's got a 1 second penalty, which is not going to help him. And as they go round to the right-hander, if you get that bit right, it feels quite good actually, it's quite decent. And then heading on down the hill, this is where it gets exciting. Lots of bumps, dodgy curbs that can throw the car and can put you in the fencing before you know it. And it's knowing when to kind of change down, how to throw it in. Look how we go a little bit deep, but we're managing to stay up. In fact, we've caught right up with the Porsche and the Toyota. The Toyota goes ahead of the Porsche, but can we keep up with them? Oh, and the Porsche goes wide, and I've been able to get past him. And of course, now that the Toyota has this penalty, there's a good chance if I can just stick with him and make sure he doesn't get too far away, I can get that place back. And then we are looking at 9th place and maybe even some more. So now we're into these long right hand bends again, trying to keep the car really steady so that it's kind of balanced and it's not going to do things you don't want it to do. Coming through this kind of almost flat out section, you're just about 8/10 around here, and with a bit of throttle you can see how easy the car is to lose a bit of momentum there. And it was going from not quite as my good co-host friend Andrew Marr was saying, it's not a tank slapper, that's what you get on a bike. That it was certainly fishtailing a bit. So there you go, down the hill, crucially watching these sections to brake, because if you brake too late you're in the barriers. It looks like my line wasn't too bad there actually from watching this video. And then heading up, there's a really bumpy right-hander here, and then down the hill again for almost it's not identical, but it is quite a similar kind of area, and then with some big sharp braking points as well, to make sure. This is a dodgy bend. It's a really hard one to know how to get it right. You ride a little bit of that inside curve and a wee bit of the outside curve, but watch that you don't take too much, otherwise you'll just spin off. And now I've got to try and keep up with this Toyota, which has pretty good straight speed on the straight, certainly enough to keep me busy. And I think he's just slightly out of the slipstream there, but a lot of the time people got the next section a little bit wrong, because it's a very, very fast section and it's easy to make a mistake. So here we come along, round the left-hander, then you're going to just have a wee dab on the brakes for a little lift. We've got the 911 right behind us. We managed to take that reasonably well. The 911 is certainly there and pushing, but we keep it together round the sharp right-hander that then opens out onto a short straight and into, of course, the famous carousel, which is banked towards you, but you can very easily slip off the wrong side and have all sorts of problems, and you've got to accelerate out just enough to give yourself some decent speed. Got a little gap between us and the 911 behind, and then it is now a very, very intense section of corners, just constant lefts and rights, little bits of curve here and there. This is where I know I could have probably gone a bit faster. It's just trying to get the rhythm. Right, oh, we've gone at one place, we're up into 9th, someone else has gone off. So the key thing for me now is can I keep ahead of the chaps behind me? Can I kind of maintain that position and maybe even try and pull away? And I think that, I wonder if that was that may have been the Toyota that went off, I'm not entirely sure. It was a bit skittish. If we can get a long view, we might just be able to see who is in front of us and what kind of car it is. But at the moment we're just seeing these exterior, that looks like the Toyota or someone, one other car is up there. So there we go. We're managing to pull away a little bit, so we didn't, definitely our second lap was a bit quicker and was a bit more, felt like we were kind of beginning to improve on our abilities here at the Nurenberg. And as we follow it round to the right and left, this was a bit where I just had to concentrate the whole way through because the car would just be pushing wide and you needed to make sure you were watching very, very carefully indeed. So we come through, right-hander, then it's the left-hander. These are usually just maybe one gear down, let the car power out wide as much as possible using all the track, and then heading onto a kind of mini carousel style corner on the left, and then we're getting closer to the big long straight, which is almost towards the final part of the lap. Trying to keep it clean through there so you can get lots of momentum and make sure that the chap behind does not get into your slipstream. But it looks like we've got a decent amount of space there, and that's a different car, so I think it was indeed that Toyota that did, yeah, the Toyota definitely went off, and that's what gave us the 9th place. So at this point I was thinking, that's phenomenal, started 19th and I made up 10 places, so can we hang on to this 9th place and let's see how it goes for the last few seconds of the race at the Nurenberg Ring. Again, I don't always do daily race, see, so this was, I thought, let's try it, let's give it a go. And it went actually a lot better than I thought. So we come round, we managed to stay on the track, the line is okay, and we come across the final start-finish straight from 19th to 9th. I was quite chuffed with that. There you are, Fat Man in a cheap sim. Remember, we have our live streams every Monday night for our gaming channel, and of course, this week, this Thursday coming, we have the legend that is Tidgney on the show from 9 o'clock this Thursday night, so make sure you don't miss that. Have your questions ready, it's going to be a fantastic show. And just a week later, we then have Super GT. So there you go, that's this week's video. Take care, and drive fast, and try not to crash. Bye just now.